Jungkook's confession that made Jimin cry in front of everyone. No one in the audience expected silence to fall so suddenly. Thousands of fans were screaming. The lights of the arena glittered like stars, and the energy of the night was vibrating through the floor. Yet in that one fragile moment, Jungkook stepped forward, took a deep breath, and said something that froze time. The confession was not scandalous, not dangerous, but it carried a weight that broke through the noise. Jimin, who had been standing just a few feet away, tried to hold his composure, but the tears in his eyes betrayed him before the words could even finish echoing. What did Jungkook say that could move not just a member of BTS, but also the millions who later replayed the scene online? That question has haunted fans and casual observers alike. The answer, however, is more than just a line of words. It is about growth, about truth, and about the way a single moment can redefine the value of a brand, an individual, and even a global phenomenon. At first glance, people might assume that confessions on stage are rehearsed, polished, and delivered for effect. But those who have followed Jungkook's journey know better. He is a perfectionist, yes, but also someone who wrestles with vulnerability. To stand in front of the world, to open himself up, and to speak a raw truth, it is not just bravery, it is strategy. In branding, whether you are an artist, a business, or an entrepreneur, vulnerability is one of the most powerful currencies you can offer. People do not only remember your perfect performances, they remember the cracks where your humanity shines through. The setup for that night had been extraordinary. The group had just finished a powerful performance, their choreography sharp, their voices soaring across the arena. Fans were already emotional, chanting in unison, holding banners that lit up like a galaxy of devotion. And yet, amidst all the grandeur, Jungkook looked restless. He glanced at Jimin, he looked at the crowd, and then back at himself as though searching for the right opening. That hesitation, that fraction of silence, was the trigger. Because in storytelling, silence can sometimes be louder than the loudest sound. And then came the confession. Jungkook admitted, in his own heartfelt words, how much Jimin's presence had carried him through darker times, how Jimin had been not just a teammate but a lifeline. He spoke about moments when doubt threatened to drown him, moments when the spotlight felt too heavy, and how Jimin's quiet encouragement kept him standing. He did not dress it up in metaphors. He did not hide behind rehearsed lines. He simply told the truth. And the truth, spoken without armor, can be devastatingly beautiful. The crowd erupted, but in the middle of that eruption, the camera caught Jimin wiping his eyes, trying and failing to hide his tears. It wasn't just a sentimental gesture. It was the climax of a story years in the making, a story of brotherhood, of shared sacrifice, of invisible battles that fans rarely get to see. That is why the moment went viral, and why even people outside the fandom found themselves replaying it. Because at its core, it wasn't about celebrities, it was about the universal need to be seen, valued, and appreciated. Now here's where it gets interesting for those who study branding, leadership, and growth. What Jungkook did was more than personal, it was strategic, whether intentional or instinctive. He took a global stage and turned it into a deeply intimate space. In the language of business, he shifted from broadcasting to connecting. Many brands spend millions trying to create that effect. They launch campaigns, design advertisements, and chase trends. Yet in one unplanned confession, Jungkook demonstrated the blueprint: authenticity, vulnerability, and timing. Think about it. In every industry, leaders and creators are faced with the same dilemma. Should they appear flawless, or should they dare to be real? Flawlessness attracts admiration, but reality builds loyalty. When you let people into your struggles, when you show them the humanity behind the product, service, or performance, you transform from a distant star into a trusted companion. And trust, as we know, is the foundation of sustainable growth. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Because there's another twist to this story, one that adds even more depth to the night. Later, backstage, some of the crew whispered that Jimin had been under immense pressure too, that he had been doubting his own worth, questioning whether his efforts were enough. To hear Jungkook confess that Jimin had been the one holding him up flipped the narrative. It was a mirror showing Jimin that his value had been immeasurable all along. This is where the lesson deepens. Sometimes the people who doubt themselves the most are the ones carrying others the hardest. In business teams, creative groups, and even families, the quiet supporters often underestimate the impact of their contribution. They believe their work is invisible. But the truth is, their influence can be the glue holding everything together. Recognition, public, sincere, undeniable, can be the spark that reignites their spirit. And now, let's pause here for a moment. Because what happens next will surprise you. What Jungkook revealed after that confession was not just about gratitude, it was a teaser of something bigger. He hinted at the idea that the next chapter, both for himself and for BTS, would be built not only on performances and records, but on stories that connect deeply with people's lives. That single confession became the seed of a larger narrative. And the crowd, whether they realized it or not, had just been invited into the next phase of the journey. That is the genius of powerful storytelling. It doesn't end with the climax. It leaves you hungry for more, leaning forward, wondering what will come next. Great brands do this. Great leaders do this. And on that night, Jungkook and Jimin embodied it with such raw honesty that it could not be ignored. As the night closed, the emotional weight lingered. Fans went home not just with memories of songs, but with a story they could carry, retell, and find themselves in. They spoke about resilience, about brotherhood, about the courage to speak when silence feels safer. For weeks, discussions spread across platforms, dissecting every word, every tear, and every pause. And that is how impact multiplies through emotional resonance that travels far beyond the original moment. So, what does this mean for you? Whether you are an artist, an entrepreneur, or simply someone building your path in the world. It means that the most powerful tool you have is not just your talent, not just your product, but your story. The confession that made Jimin cry was not entertainment alone, it was a reminder that people crave connection more than perfection. If you can deliver that, you will not only capture attention, you will earn devotion. And here is the final closure. Jimin's tears were not a weakness. They were proof that when words are true, even the strongest walls fall away. Jungkook's confession became more than a headline, it became a legacy moment. A point in time where vulnerability met leadership, where entertainment met inspiration, where brand met soul. The lesson is clear. If you want to grow, if you want to matter, don't just perform. Confess. Don't just impress. Connect. Because in the end, the world doesn't remember how flawless you looked. It remembers how deeply you made them feel. So, as you carry this story with you, let it remind you of the power hidden in your own truth. Somewhere, someone is waiting to hear the words only you can say, the confession that could shift their entire world. Don't hold it back. The stage is waiting. The spotlight is yours. Now, it's time for your confession.